Hello, my name is Christopher Korth, and today I want to talk to you about a serious issue in our society in drinking and driving. Some people would think that getting behind the wheel after a few drinks of alcohol or even being drunk will be a no-brainer not to do that. But unfortunately, that's not always the case, as it becomes harder and harder for us to know how much is too much. Today I want to talk about a few things. I want to talk about how much is too much, the 0013 rule that's been implemented by the military, and then I want to go over some statistics about drunk driving. First, let's talk about how much alcohol is too much alcohol. The Texas Alcohol and Tobacco Commission has produced this chart, which shows the effects of alcohol on each person as it relates to your sex, age, and body weight in pounds. For instance, for a man my age, 28, and I weigh 230 pounds, I can have 4 drinks before I reach 0.08, which is the legal drinking blood alcohol content level before you can get behind the wheel of a vehicle. For a woman, same age as me, let's say weighing 140 pounds, she can only have 2 drinks before she reaches 0.08, as pointed out on the scale that they've produced to help educate on how many drinks is too many drinks. Having a plan and sticking to it is really the best way to avoid drinking and driving. In our society, sometimes it's far too common to look on the news and see an image like this, where someone got behind the wheel of a vehicle and they were drunk. Now that we've gone over how much is too much and some of the resources out there for you to realize how many drinks is too much, let's talk about what to expect from your body. Let's talk about a good rule of thumb on a night out that will help you to realize how much you've been drinking. The 0013 rule is a tool that's been implemented by the military. It basically says 0 underage drinking, 0 alcohol-related incidents, 1 drink per hour, and 3 drinks per outing. Let's talk about underage drinking for a second. In 2007, 62% of students in the 8th grade reported that it was fairly easy to obtain alcohol. In 2002, 3% of Americans aged 18 to 20 had said they had driven while under the effects of alcohol. These people are way underage to be drinking, and 3% of Americans between that age had said they'd been behind the wheel of a vehicle after being under the influence of alcohol. The next step would be 0 alcohol-related incidents, and that I think is self-explanatory, that our goal is to have 0 alcohol-related incidents, not only in the military, but it's a good rule of thumb for each person. Having 1 drink per hour. It's statistically shown, medically proven, that the liver can only produce 1 alcoholic drink per hour. That's 1 shot, 1 5-ounce glass of wine, or 1 beer. And then 3 drinks per outing. 1 per hour, 3 drinks per outing, and you should be safe to get behind the wheel of a car, obviously based on your own discretion. Now that we've talked about how much alcohol will affect you based on your body weight and your sex, and then we've talked about a good rule of thumb on how to keep away from drinking and driving and having a plan, let's talk about some of the statistics, or how big of a problem really is drinking and driving. In 2012, 10,322 people were killed in alcohol-impaired driving crashes. That accounted for nearly 1/3, or 31%, of all traffic-related deaths in the United States. That's 1/3 of all traffic-related deaths in the United States were caused by alcohol or drinking and driving. Of the 1,168 traffic deaths among children ages 0 to 14 in 2012, 239, which is 20%, involved an alcohol-impaired driver. whether that was their parent behind the wheel of a car or being struck by another vehicle. That's 20% of all traffic deaths for children ages 0 to 14 had something to do with alcohol and getting behind the wheel of a vehicle. Today we've covered several factors regarding drinking and driving. We've talked about how alcohol affects your body based on your sex, your weight, and your age. That great resource from the Texas Alcohol, TABC, Texas Alcohol and Tobacco Commission, that clearly defines on average how much your body can handle. We've talked about a good rule that was implemented by the military, the 0013 rule, which says 0 underage drinking, 0 alcohol-related incidents, 1 drink per hour because that's all the liver can handle, and 3 drinks per outing. And you should, if you hold by that rule, you should be good to avoid alcohol-related incidents or getting behind the wheel of a car under the influence of alcohol. Finally, we talked about some of the statistics that really jump out at you about drinking and driving and showing how big of a problem drinking and driving is in our society. For my speech today, I've used the Centers for Disease and Control and Prevention, the Drink Responsibly, the 0013 rule produced by C. McClendon, retrieved from the Goodfellow Air Force Base portal, and the Texas Alcohol and Tobacco website in their pamphlet handout. That concludes my presentation today. Hopefully you'll agree that drinking and driving is something you should never do. Thank you for listening.